I only need two things repeated over and over to me. Awesome chord progressions in the key of A major to practice my guitar soloing, and an explanation of why the Knights of Medieval Times in Anaheim are on strike, because I don't really understand their working class demands. But today we're not talking about medieval times, we're talking about one chord that is really gonna help you with your guitar soloing. So I'm gonna just lay down a loop in the key of A major. I'm just gonna have like a A major, F sharp minor, E7 chord progression, and then I'm gonna solo over it, really all based around one chord, and I want you to tell me honestly in the comments if you knew what the chord was while I'm playing it. All right, so let's make the loop real quick. There's F sharp minor to E7. Okay, so did you know what that chord was? It's an A major 7 chord voicing, the tried and true staircase one. Okay, so I'm using the Fishman AFX pedals for the entirety of this demo. Fishman sponsored this video. It's really cool. I'll be talking a little bit about them as we go through them, but the main one I want to talk about here is this looper pedal. The perfect looper pedal, one single button and one level. Like I said, we're going to be using it to kind of do this demo. But I want to talk about the chord progression first, and then why I think this chord right here can teach you so much about guitar soloing, all right? So in the key of A major, we have 7 notes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, 1 again, the octave, right? This is going to work in any key. We'll kind of move it around at the end, but we're saying diatonically everything we're going to do is in this key. So I'm going to make the chord progression that I played was A major 7, so open A, 2D, 1G, 2B, open E, and then I'm switching that to F sharp minor 7. This would be the 6th chord in the key. What I mean by that is A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C, D, E, F. The F sharp is going to be the 6th chord in the key, so there's 2 on the E string, skip the A string, 2 D and 2 G. There's my 6th chord, and then 5, A, B, C, D, E, E7. So a pretty easy chord progression to play, all of it happening in the same register on this acoustic guitar, right? So I can kind of just play A major 7, then F sharp minor 7, then E7. Now, any way that I choose to use these notes is going to sound pretty good over this, right? We'll talk about a couple different ways you can do this, but I really think this chord right here is a great way to kind of just memorize how all this stuff works, right? Because it's a really easy chord to conceptualize. It's easier to see than it is to play. I will admit that I was scared of this chord when I first started out. And again, it's a typical staircase chord. Pinky on the 7th fret of the D string, which is an A, right? There's that octave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're just gonna go down a string, back a fret, down a string, back a fret, down a string, back a fret. Okay, so gets all the fingers involved, which, man, let me tell you, that's tough to do right there when you're first starting out. But it's worth it to practice, and even if you can't hit this chord exactly how it is, I think it's a great way to just kind of see other notes around it, right? Because I'm getting the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 7th notes in the key of A in this one chord. So I have 4 notes in this chord, right? Now, we said before there are 7 notes total in a key, so the other 3 notes that we aren't playing are really right around this chord, and I think it's like it's a brilliant way to think about, all right, well, what are the notes in this key that I'm not playing? Well, this is going to be the only note that we play on the D string, that A, and then I'm going to go to my ring fingers note right here. Here's an interesting way to kind of think about it, because this is the 3rd of the chord. Remember, A, B, C, C sharp technically. There's that C sharp, that major 3rd. If we go a half step higher, we get the D, or the 4th note in this key. And if we go a full step lower, we get a B or the second note. So right here, just kind of pivoting around, we have a lot of different notes. We have 2 of the notes that are in this key that are not in this chord, that are not chord tones from that chord. So if I play that chord progression again, it's gonna sound pretty good, right? I'm using 4 of the 7 notes, but not all the chord tones in that original key. They're all gonna sound good over different chords and stuff, but just right off the bat, taking just that 1 string, now we have 6 of the 7 notes in this key. So now we can kind of continue on and go to the B string, where your middle finger is on the 5th fret. This is an E note. Whole step from there is the 6th note, the only one that we've been missing so far in this key, right? So just by taking this 1 chord and then inflecting it, half step one way, full step the other way, from that 2nd note in the chord, or the 3rd note in the scale, and then taking the 5th note right here, which again, you know, if you're used to shapes, or even like bar chords right here, you've probably done that where you put your pinky on just the B string right there. That's gonna give us all the notes in the key. So now it's like, all right, well, I can just take this shape, the chord tones here, maybe finish this shape there, because remember, there's the 7th note in the key, and there's the root note again, and there's the 2nd note. Eventually, while just adding to this chord, we get and then in range is that 2nd note again. Right? So now it's like, oh cool, off of this 1 shape, I can do anything in this entire key here, right? The root note, the 7th. Okay, so I think that's just a great way to kind of like approach it. Now the next thing that we could do is like just take this 1 shape and then add something that I know that you already know, which is the minor pentatonic. We always go to minor pentatonic when we're talking about soloing, right? But I do want to really quickly talk about just the incredible benefits of having a looper pedal. And again, this one is like super inexpensive. In fact, so Fishman has these new acoustic-driven guitar effects pedals. I'm going into my Fishman Loudbox Artist, which is an awesome acoustic amp. It has effects built in, but it really works well with these pedals too. This first one you'll see is an EQ pedal, and I want you to see the difference between just going the high end of this chord, and then when I take the EQ pedal off, really, you can cut a lot of the mid-range out, and I think you get a little bit more of a brilliance to soloing. Because there's really a lack of like acoustic guitar soloing videos, I think, on YouTube personally. And then we have the looper pedal afterwards, and then a reverb pedal, which again is key. Again, here's just a dry A chord. Doesn't have the same effect, but here we go. Put that. You can really kind of like get spacey with it. Really cool. And then we have a ABY splitter, which I can talk about in a future video if you guys are interested. But the nice thing about this looper pedal is it has the level. The only really knob you see right here, aside from going to looper or sampler with a switch. And sampler, you can just load up your own samples. Like if you want to play the backing tracks, you can actually just load a bunch of backing tracks on here, and then just one button start it, and then just play a show or something like that. But I prefer looper mode because you can just make a loop and then really adjust the level of it afterwards. Why that's important for acoustic guitar is because usually when you're doing the rhythm acoustic guitar, you're probably playing a bunch of strings at once. And then if your level is full on the same loudness as your rhythm track, you're really gonna have to hit the strings harder to get single notes to like ring out. So it's really cool design. Again, thank you to Fishman for sponsoring this video and sending all these pedals over. Really cool stuff. I'll have an affiliate link in the description if you guys are interested. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about, and where we're going to take this loop, minor pentatonic. So right there you're covering a lot of ground, and all it is that one chord voicing that we talked about earlier, and then getting into the relative minor pentatonic. Now, you can already see a lot of this from just where the A is on the low E string and the high A string, right? This is right here. If you put your pinky where the root note is, then you can just back up one finger per fret and get the relative minor, which is always 3 frets back. F sharp minor is relative minor in the key of A. Check out the Patreon if you want to learn more stuff about that. But the minor pentatonic for this key would be 2 5 2 4 2 4 2 4 2 5 2 5, right? And that really leads us to the high end of that arpeggio. So we really have 2 shapes. We have 2 single string alterations giving us the other notes in that key, and then the minor pentatonic to have 2 shapes to move in between, which I think is really important, okay? And again, thinking of them as chord voicings in open and closed shapes instead of just open chords, I think is really important in moving this around. So let's do this whole thing in the key of B major, all right? So I'm gonna double tap and hold this, and that'll erase the loop. So now I can do something different. I'm gonna do something in the key of B major, right? Maybe I'll do like a, I'll still stay on the 1 chord, but then I'll do like a 3 2 1. So the 1 button to stop, and I've got my loop right there. All right, well, so I know the chords, and here, let me double tap to stop it so we can just talk about this first. But so there's our 1 chord, our 3 chord, and our 2 chord, right? Which in the key of B, we have D sharp minor and C sharp minor as our chords. So now I just have to find that B on the high E string, 7th fret, and then let's do that staircase again. So now I'm thinking of leading into the 9th fret on the D string as my root. So when I play this again, all from this voicing. Or I can back off into minor pentatonic. Again, there's my root note. Major 7, staircase down, and then if you want to get, even expand it further, you could be like, all right, here's my root note. The major 7 is always a half step back. I think that's a cool way to maybe like end like a loop, so let's play that again. honestly, it's a good way to kind of end because you're arriving before. So all that stuff really comes from thinking of this staircase shape. And not once did I really play this as a chord, because again, like I said, it's, you know, it's not a beginner shape to kind of be able to just slide into that with your whole hand like. Not the easiest thing in the world, definitely good to practice. But conceptually, just seeing these notes as a staircase, I think is really, really important. And especially, you know, even if you use like the same, I'll just do the whole thing with just 2 fingers, just my pointer finger and my middle finger. This will be an interesting exercise for me to see if I can not use my ring finger and my pinky. Minor pentatonic. There we go. See, so it's more about seeing it in your mind's eye, and I think that's really the whole trick and the secret to soloing on any instrument is knowing where you're capable of going. Because I promise you, you're good enough right now to just take an idea, and as long as you can see the map of like, all right, this note, this note, this note, this note go together. If I want to maybe add something different, I can, you know, maybe take this note, go there, or go there, or this note. It's more about just kind of seeing the patterns and the potential and the possibility. And I think that's something that that is just really super helpful. So I just thought it would be a fun thing to share and kind of just demonstrate a lot of the cool Fishman pedals and the loud box. This is really my favorite acoustic amp probably ever built because it has 2 inputs. You can go either an instrument in or just a microphone in. So if you're somebody who, you know, sings and performs at the same time, sing and play at the same time, this is a really cool setup, having the little mini pedal board with just the EQ, looper, reverb, and then splitter if you want to maybe add another instrument or a drum machine or something, and then just go out to the Fishman loud box. So, like I said, thank you again to Fishman for sponsoring the video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website. I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks.